Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by two of my esteemed colleagues and SpinFire veterans, Carissa Moreau, Senior Customer Base Manager, and Alan Hardy, Technical Consultant. Let's get started. Welcome, Carissa.
Hi, Cherise. Thank you. And a quick shout out for putting this together today. It's really appreciated. So today what we're going to do is review TechSoft 3D, a short Insight recap, a demo of Insight highlights, and explore enterprise visualization. A quick overview before we get into the details. TechSoft 3D has been around providing engineering software development toolkits since about 1996, focusing on three major areas originally: data access, graphics, and simulation for over 750 partners. I'm joining you today from the Detroit area with our headquarters in Bend, Oregon, our major development office in Lyon, France, and more in Sofia, France, and Norway, with sales offices found throughout. As some of you may know, in May of 2024, the SpinFire brand was acquired, followed by June of 2024 when Theorem was acquired, forming the basis of what's now known as the Industrial Applications Group of TechSoft 3D. So what does this mean for you? TechSoft 3D's acquisition is really about expanding our mission to make 3D data more accessible without the need for complex and expansive CAD software. Expect more updates, improved integration, and expanded resources, all designed to help your team unlock CAD data's full potential. With TechSoft 3D's support, the SpinFire family of solutions will continue to evolve, bringing our users even more value out of their CAD data. We are eager to roll out the new updates, integrate new technologies, and enhance your experience with SpinFire. Today, we will cover how SpinFire Insight helps unlock the power of CAD data, the way we have for over 2,000 organizations who have trusted SpinFire Insight to help them succeed. You can see here, SpinFire serves a global customer base with over 80% involved in the automotive sector. I am also pleased to have so many of our valued customers with us today. So thank you and welcome. Along with many of our existing customers that joined, and for those of you that are interested in learning more, I want to give a quick overview of SpinFire Insight. For some customers, the name SpinFire Insight is also new. However, it is the same product you know and trust. SpinFire Insight is an advanced CAD visualization and analysis tool that enables users to view, measure, and mark up complex 3D CAD models without requiring native CAD software. It streamlines engineering workflows and enhances collaboration across the teams and suppliers. With SpinFire Insight, file format compatibility is no longer a barrier. We provide seamless access to all major CAD file formats, simplify collaboration across teams, and streamline workflows, all while driving cost efficiency. This is the most obvious challenge that SpinFire solves. SpinFire Insight can handle multiple CAD formats, giving you the flexibility to investigate and communicate on a range of different CAD formats. SpinFire Insight has a robust set of CAD visualization, measurement, markup, and analysis features, giving users greater insight to product data. With SpinFire Insight, users can effectively expose engineering metadata and view it in context with a 3D model. That being said, I'd like to now reintroduce Alan Hardy, and he's going to elaborate more on this during the demo of SpinFire Insight. So Alan, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Carissa. Again, my name is Alan Hardy. I'm a technical consultant here with TechSoft 3D. Today, I'm going to show you some of the major key highlights of SpinFire Insight of the latest release. One of the major improvements that we've made with SpinFire, a massive improvement of 84% reduction time of loading large assembly CAD files. Additional features that I'm going to highlight today is the ability to do weight calculations for multi-materials, be able to assign materials to individual components that are to have more accurate full assembly weight calculation. Additionally, we have introduced a new export format, HTML format, which I'll show you how easily that can be done. And some other changes we've made with just regrouping our importer settings, 3D viewer settings, just for a more accurate way of finding your settings. We have some additional tools that we've recently introduced with SpinFire for advanced selection of group highlighting based on colors and based on attributes, which I'll get into shortly. That just helps engineers be able to quickly find parts for part identification. And then we always have new updates periodically throughout the year for importer updates to stay in line with the new releases of the CAD formats, major CAD formats. And I had forgotten to mention, but there's a QR code here on the right. If you'd like to scan that right now, you can. This will take you to a link to view our page on our help site of all the latest key features of the last release. And now I'll go ahead and jump into our demo. All right, so again, one of the major changes that we've made with the latest release of SpinFire is a new version scheme. Historically, we've always kept it at 11.5, 11.10, previous release of 11.12.0. But now we've changed it to so that at the top here you see SpinFire 2025.1. This aligns our versioning scheme, aligns with the rest of our TechSoft products. And again, I mentioned the significant improvements for performance improvements as far as loading time goes. So if I jump over to my homepage, here we can see a list of our recent documents. I'll go ahead and hide this for now. And with my recent documents, it actually displays the file location. It displays the timestamp of when it was last modified, size, and the time duration it took to open up that file within SpinFire. Here we can also right click and I can explore that file explorer or the folder is on your desktop. I can also open the files, reopen the files from here as well. So as far as the additional performance improvements that we've made in the latest release, we've made some changes in how we've grouped our settings. At the top here under options, importers, we have a preset dialog, a pull-down menu now. And this can quickly control if you want a higher quality, lower performance, or higher performance, lower quality, which just will greatly improve the optimizing the CAD data for extremely large assembly models. And we've regrouped some of these settings. So load surface on demand, static model enabled. These are additional items that are good for being able to enhance the performance of the CAD model within SpinFire. The static model enabled just renders, it enhances, improves the time of rendering the parts so that any parts that are not actually visible on screen, which is all those parts that are either components inside of a model or just not visible, it won't take the time to render that data on your screen. Load surface on demand, this enhances the load time of loading your CAD file so that it doesn't actually load all of the surface data, all the actual data for that CAD file until it's actually needed or actually necessary. This improves both load time and overall responsiveness of that CAD data. Additionally, just some other tips here. Go my settings. So we have an option here called optimize memory. This just helps to the CPU usage of your computer. that it takes when it loads the file. Once it's loaded, it releases that CPU usage quickly. Additionally, with again, with some of the changes that we've made, we wanted to reorganize some of these settings. So for instance, one example, I'll just go to step importers. We have, for example, our PMI data. We had some of these settings that were initially under our 3D viewer settings, but now it's built into the importer settings under PMI. We have this advanced button now. This advanced gives you the option to maybe enable front facing PMI and front rendered PMI. The front facing PMI, again, that's where the annotations, the 3D annotations that are visible in the 3D workspace, your FTNA, GD&T, what have you, that the font stays facing the position of this monitor. If that's disabled, then the PMI just kind of stays with the 3D model, and so it end up reading up backwards. Front rendered PMI, this is going to help if you have PMI or annotations, leader lines that are pointing to parts inside of a model, or just harder to see. If you have this turned on, this will allow the annotations to be visible on top of the geometry. Okay. So some of the other things that would help with enhancing the performance is, with your graphics driver, you always want to keep that updated to the latest version. There's also an option if you go to the control panels of the graphic drivers, there's a way to update that and from that setting for SpinFire and SpinFire Viewer to select that, change that to a high performance. That will help to optimize or enhance your usability of using SpinFire. Now, let's jump into one of these examples here and show you some of the key changes, key highlights that we've made with the latest release. And that first thing I want to mention is the material assignment. For example, we have a full assembly here. Initially, it would, if you were to do a weight calculation of assembly, you right click on a part and you go to calculate and you just say weight. By default, right now, this is showing zinc and it's only showing the single part. If I were to right click on the parent item here and say calculate, it would then give me the weight of and it would only just be one part. So this is a new feature we've introduced in the latest version where it labels all of the materials that are built into this assembly. I'll go ahead and this calculation where I calculated zinc, by default right now, it is because of my drop-down menu here, I have it set to zinc as my default. And I can change this to any other material and do another weight calculation, and it will then take in effect what I had selected in that default. I, of course, can go back here and I can always change that manually with the existing measurements or calculations that we have here. So now to get to the point of being able to to calculate multi-materials, let's just say we have nuts here that is assigned steel. I'm sorry, wrong one. Multi-select with holding my control key down and go to material, and let's just make that stainless steel. Okay, weld, nut, right click, steel. Change these to steel. Maybe change these as well to steel. All right. Now, once I've changed my materials for that, all of those different individual components, let's just do a calculate weight once again. And now we see weight has steel, stainless steel, and magnesium assigned to the different materials. Another nice feature we have with being able to assign these materials to the individual components. If I were to navigate to File, Export, and go to Parts List, I'll go ahead and select Show Physical Properties. And as that loads, it'll add all of the additional columns to be able to export a bill of materials. And it has that weight information in it. The values under my weight calculation for the different individual components are updated based on the selected materials or the assigned materials. Additionally, we have introduced the ability to export as HTML format. So if I navigate to, well, let's go to another example here with this turbo engine. If I go to File, Export, HTML, and we have only visible selected, and by default, that will save an HTML file to the location of the initial, where the initial CAD file was when I opened it. And I can always just browse and point to a different output folder if I'd like. So I'll go to Export, replace it, sure. Okay. And then as that file generates, I'll go ahead and open up the HTML file. And this HTML file is automatically loaded into my default web browser. And as you can see, I can, without the CAD viewers and installed, I don't have any, I didn't, without having to install CAD application, with the HTML file being able to load in the web browser, I'm able to quickly spin the CAD model around, or use the navigation cube, clicking on the different parts of the cube that will also spin that model around. A couple of nice things that the web viewer provides is the ability to do a exploded assembly. So if I toggle my exploded icon, you get this little scroller bar here and scroll up, and you can see those parts just explode off of a spherical center point of this entire assembly. Then we have a cross-sectioning. There's 3 different planes that we have here that I can toggle on and off. So let's just start with one. And with this one section cut open, if I just press and hold the plane, my cursor on top of the plane, and move my cursor around, I can see that move around, and we can see the section cut this way. Now, if I were to just click on this plane again, it actually flips the plane over, turn it off, so turn it on. Second click reverses it or flips it, and third click turns it back off. And as well as if I had 2 here, we can kind of do a quarter cut this way. And if I wanted to quickly just reference the rest of the assembly, I could turn that back on, and it actually flips it around. Okay. Another feature that we've recently introduced with SpinFire Insight is this ability to do an advanced selection, highlighting of advanced parts. Let me just click on this part. Right click, you see a set of a context menu that gives you a handful of features that are specific to part selection mode, or specific to selecting individual components. That same context menu applies to if I were to right click on the component within the model tree. Now, if I were to go down here and let's just type in adapter, this then highlights all of the components that have adapter as part of the part name within that assembly tree. And you also see that highlighted in the geometry as well. Right clicking on a part, again, that will select it in the tree and the geometry. So you can do certain things, like maybe I want to change transparency of this housing just to be able to see the inside components, make that more visible. It's also with multi-selecting, if I were to hold my shift key down and right click, drag and drop, it creates this red box, and look out, that's going to highlight all of the components that touch that box. Now, additionally, if I were to use my shift key in the assembly tray, that's also being able to multi-select, or my control key, again, that multi-selects as well. But what we've introduced, what I wanted to get to you is, my point was the additional feature called the advanced selection. This feature then allows me to be able to select parts based on color. So all of the components that have the same color assignment, or you might have a case where you have a single part, advanced selection. So here's one part and you only see one component there. Let's just change this to use surfaces. Let's, So it's supposed to have multiple surfaces there to show up. Okay, there's also the ability to highlight based on attribute information. So I can highlight based on filter, based on tunnel. Here's one that has 22 count of the specific nuts. And let me just go ahead and switch over to another browser here. Let's see. Our selection mode. Okay, that's interesting. It should be highlighting the different color components there. Additionally, with the individual colors, or being able to do a select parts or surfaces, if I were to right click, it selects the entire component. We also have the ability to toggle between part selection mode and surface selection mode. Now this, if I were to right click, I see. So with my performance optimization, I had this load surface under my settings, importers, load surface on demand. So you see how this item in the tree has a circle around that plus. So just to enhance my performance of this model, that wasn't fully loaded. So I will go ahead and right click on that part and select load surfaces. All right. Now, if I right click on a part, it just highlights the individual surface. Now let's go ahead and check the surface selection mode. Let's toggle between two. So here we go. So that was why I wasn't able to see all the different surfaces, because I had my load surfaces on demand enabled. So it wasn't able to see that information. But you see now with being able to highlight the specific colors, such as this, all the red components, and maybe you want to change all of those red colors to a different color. So I'll right click on a component in the tree, go to color, navigate to front and back, and just change that color. And takes just a couple seconds to load, updates all the individual pieces. And you now see that all those red components are pink. Right, so if I turn this off, back on, you now see that that's also pink as well. Okay. Some additional tools that I just would like to highlight. This is common questions that we get feedback from customers is to do with cross sectioning and maybe being able to do a projection mode calculation. So as I mentioned earlier, right click on a part, you get a few tools here that are related to the specific part selection, being able to align parts, change the colors, transparency of parts. We can even go in here and we can rename the individual parts. So you can do all those with the right clicking on the individual parts. Now, if I were to right click in the 3D area, I'll get a different set of tools for your navigation purposes, which is also can be found in my 3D toolbar. Now, if I wanted to do a projection mode, we have a cross-sectioning tool. If I enable this, that'll toggle the cross-section tool on. And if I go to the pull-down menu, you see you have your other common planes, if you want to do 1, 2, or 3 planes. A define dialog, which also opens up the dialog window. It gives you the ability to flip the plane, turn on and off multiple planes, change the color of the different planes, maybe show the second plane, hide it. Maybe if I want to take a screenshot, a nice clean screenshot without that section plane in the way, I could do that. And there's additional features, being able to just align the section plane on specific angles or against a specific face. So you can do all of that here. But there's also, if I were to hover over this different sides, you can see kind of a yellow arrow appear as I hover over the little dots. This just allows me to move the plane around. If I go into the middle, see I have this ability to slide this over. Now with this over to the side, I'll go ahead, right click on that plane. You'll see another set of tools that you can use with the section cut feature. And I'll go ahead and enable the projection mode. And now you see a shadow of that assembly onto that plane. I'll right click and click calculate, and then I can say calculate area. There, calculate projection area. Okay, so now we have our projection area here. And I showed you earlier being able to modify the callouts with the material. You can do that as well with the units. So maybe I want to change that to inches instead of millimeters. Okay. Another nice feature we have with our SpinFire Insight and common practice that I always recommend is to create user views as you're working with your project file. So if I go navigate to this eyeball icon, this opens up the views panel. We see a set of standard views that come with the CAD environment. You might have a set of CAD views. Anything that's listed under CAD views will be all of those views that were defined in the native CAD application that it gets retained when I import this CAD model into SpinFire. Now user views. So if I were to right click here and say new user view, I'll just projection. calculation. And I can maybe make this my startup view. All right, now that startup view, if I were to go to File, Save As, this is going to save it as an Act3D file. Act3D file format is native to the SpinFire Insight application. So if I were to now navigate to the different individual views here, we'll go ahead and turn off my markup here. So we have 4 different tabs up here at the top. Here you see your assembly tree. That's defined exactly how it was in the native CAD application. I showed you the views panel. Then we also have an annotations panel. So here, this package tray, actually, if I go and show you the annotations, these are all the annotations, GD and T, FT and A, was defined in the native CAD application. And again, if I go to my views panel, you can see all the different views that were defined in that native CAD application that was retained when I imported this package tray into SpinFire Insight. All right. And now under the markups tab, so any type of measurements, 2D, 3D notes that I might add, or coordinate systems that I may want to add, or aligning parts, all that information gets added and stored under the markups tab. So I'll go ahead and I'll just check this off to hide that information. Another nice feature we have is I showed you with the HTML format, the exploded assembly. This also has an exploded assembly option. But here we have a few more control of how that assembly can be exploded based on linear, radial, spherical, whether I do all parts or I do only a handful of selected components. Now, if I were to right click, you see that that kind of spreads out based on the global coordinate system, which is defined here. You might not see that right now, but if I go ahead and toggle on my coordinate systems, you can see where that coordinate system is currently at. Let's go ahead and toggle this. Now, maybe I want to change my point of origin. So I'll click on point of origin there and just click on another area of the model. And now you see that it explodes off of that new point of origin. Okay. Another just additional tool that we have a set of measurements. You have your basic measurements that you can do, point to point, arc center to arc center. You have your minimum distance type measurements. You have drop-down menu focus on your arc, linear, and then we have a smart edge measurement. Here, let's just say if I were to use this measurement and hover over my assembly, it will actually adjust the type of measurement based on what I'm hovering over. So if I were to hover over an edge, it might give me an edge. If I were to hover over a circle, it'll give me a diameter. Now, if I want to do from circle to circle, maybe I'll go from one point to another. I'll first right click, and this gives me the option to do minimum distance between edges, or let's see, arc center to edge distance. Let's just do that, for example. Now we have 87.55 millimeters, and I can change this. That's direct point to point. Now I can change it to X, Y, Z. I can say all, and that will give me the distance for all of them, for example. All right. Again, I want to thank everybody for your time to allow me to show you some of the key highlights of the latest released version of SpinFire Insight. And now I'll go ahead and pass it back on to Carissa.
All right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen now. Thanks again, Alan, for the insightful demonstration of the latest advancements in SpinFire Insight. It was an awesome job. I'd like to take a moment now to talk about why enterprise visualization matters and how SpinFire Insight can make a real difference in your organization. On average, Only 4% of your staff are CAD designers or power users that define the product definition within the native CAD applications. So, what about the rest of the organization? In building products, you must share and collaborate regarding this information, otherwise, errors, delays, and costs are inevitable. CAD is too complex and expensive for enterprise use. All other viewers are sold per license or by named user, automatically limiting who gains access. As a result, employees without access often buy alternative viewers to complete niche tasks, resulting in scattered, incompatible viewers across the enterprise. It's been this way for decades. Today, there is a better way and only one vendor that has solved this strategic problem. That vendor is TechSoft 3D, and that tool is SpinFire Insight. Who benefits from the CAD viewing and from the CAD access? Pretty much everyone within the value chain of discrete manufacturing organizations, or the other 90%. You have IT, you have engineering. Additionally, you have quality, company management, suppliers, customers, etc. There are a lot of benefits to consider, especially with regards to providing enterprise CAD viewing. What does that mean from a practical standpoint? Here's an actual customer, and after evaluating many other solutions, SpinFire Insight was chosen for its ease of use, yet with all of the power of the users required. What made the difference was our SpinFire Insight Enterprise Bundle. Unlike the vendors that restrict user tracking, impose complex protection schemes, and create barriers to scaling, SpinFire Insight's Enterprise Bundle makes enterprise-wide deployment simple. Its cost-effective model and minimal administrative overhead allow adoption to happen organically without the friction of red tape. By eliminating the direct expense of the overbought CAD license, this customer paid for the SpinFire Insight solution, still saved $200,000 annually, and expanded the solution to 64 separate locations. Moreover, cost reduction wasn't the primary driver. Relying on multiple CAD viewers introduced avoidable errors that ended up costing far more than the savings gained from eliminating the CAD licenses. After all, that's why you do this. It's not only to save money, but it's also to improve the business performance. Having the team on the same page in the end is priceless. And with that, thank you so much for your time today. Sharice, I do think I see some questions that came in. I think you're muted, Sharice.
There we
Thank you.
go. Is that better? Thanks so
Yes.
much,
Yeah.
Carissa.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for your presentations. They were very insightful. We did get quite a bit of questions over here. There were some that were submitted through chat that we answered directly, but let me just read some of those questions and answers for you because we answered them directly. Might be helpful for some of you that had the same questions. We had a question about Inventor 2D support in the future. Um, we are not in a position to share the full roadmap just yet, but we are definitely passing that question on to our product manager to ensure that we get the most accurate response. And we will make sure that the person who asked that question is informed of what that answer is. Another question that we answered directly via chat: with the new 2025.1 version, will we still be able to use the same ENT settings.config from 11.11.1? You should be able to use that with the newest version just fine. If anyone is having any issues, please let us know. And I believe one of the last ones was, is there an option to open import electrodes designed in iMold, in SCP or CATIA 3D tool data to see position and coordinates of the injection tool to consider the electrodes are not part of the original 3D tool data? We would need to know how the different files are stored, but if the electrodes are also a CAD format that we support, then yes, importing them into an then yes, we support importing them into an existing open file. I think those were it on the chat. We got some more questions in the panel. Alan, I think you can handle this one. To calculate the weight, program has already some preloaded density materials. What if one material isn't included into the database? Can I ask you for a new registration, or maybe you can have the option like other and allow us to put the material value by hand?
Yeah, I can answer that. So SpinFire absolutely has the ability to allow allow you to import additional materials, add new materials. So under your 3D viewer settings, there is a place under materials option to then add those additional material names, as well as the value, the density for that material. So you can add those proprietary materials specific to your organization.
Great, thank you. Here's another question. Are there any resources available to help new SpinFi users get up to speed or deepen their skills with the software?
I can take that one. And the answer is absolutely. The customers, new and old, with active maintenance, they have full access to our learning management system, and that offers on-demand training modules, guided tutorials, best practices to help users maximize their productivity with SpinFire. It's a great way to onboard the new team members and sharpen your skills at your own pace. Sharice, I think you could probably add the link on the chat for everybody.
Yes, I will definitely go ahead and do that. Um, Before I do, or while I do, here's another question maybe that you can answer for us. Alan, how does the new HTML export feature help when sharing CAD data with non-CAD users?
Yeah, I can answer that. So the HTML export gives the freedom to be able to share that file, that CAD data, with additional stakeholders or clients, other team members that don't have that CAD application, don't need to require the CAD application, don't need to worry about installing anything. They can just take that HTML file, open that up, and that'll open directly into that web browser, to your native web browser. And that gives you the ability to then, be able to review designs for your stakeholders.
Fantastic. Someone actually just asked, how can I download the latest version today since I'm currently using older SpinFire Ultimate?
Yeah, you can within the tool, you can go click on check for updates, or on our help site, help.spinfire.com. There is a place where you just follow you can search even for installation, or the menu items on the left-hand side, and find the installation link for that particular link that we have on our help site is always updated to the latest release version of SpinFire.
Great. We actually have quite a bit of questions left over. And as I said earlier, in the interest of time, we won't cover all of them, and we'll reach out to you directly. I do want to end with this one last question because I think it's a good one. Has the acquisition changed the way SpinFire is developed or supported?
I can take that one, Sharice. I think Alan would agree with me that absolutely yes, and for the better. So TechSoft 3D, it brings the additional resources and the strong track record in the 3D technology. SpinFire Insight is the product you all know and trust. It's going to continue to be developed as the standalone solution, but with increased support, more roadmap innovation, and the backing of the company fully aligned with this vision.
Fantastic. That concludes our Q&A session for now. Like I said, if you have questions left unanswered, we promise to reach out to you. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. For technical and product questions, please direct them to Alan. And for any sales-related questions, please reach out to Carissa. That concludes today's webinar. We hope you found it helpful and informative. As we mentioned at the beginning, your opinion greatly matters to us. So please take a moment to complete a quick feedback survey that'll pop up on your screen. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Krissa. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.